Welcome back to the Sip and Swish podcast. Here with Nick Reid, your boy, Lucas McLean.
I'm back.
You've got the title again.
Got the title.
I'm Jason Stoltz, titleless. So it feels like the NBA season is over. I wanted to start this podcast by talking about Bryan Colangelo, but these guys were like, no, shut up, Jason. We're talking about real basketball first. So I acquiesced. It's over, right? I mean, 0-3, no team in the finals has ever come back.
But what if LeBron did it?
I still think that would be the greatest. I mean, that would be the greatest accomplishment. But at this point, especially from watching last game, like everything was in place for the Cavs to win that game. But Durant just said no. And then J.R. Smith didn't contribute. Rodney Hood did. Hood did well. George Hill did nothing. So he just doesn't have a consistent supporting cast to push him over the top or even just take advantage of when Golden State's falling apart. Curry shot like 3 for 16.
Clay had a rough game.
Clay had a terrible game.
Let's focus on the Cavs role players. Since that's kind of where you started. What do you think the impact would have been if Ty Lue had been playing Rodney Hood on a more consistent basis post that trade? I mean, do you think that it has been a coaching misstep to not use Hood so much, or do you think it kind of was just fool's gold? You know, he was able to come in, he kind of was stoked that he finally was playing, and he put up one good game. What do you guys think?
He's just been really bad this year. Like, Rodney Hood of last year was like, okay, this guy can consistently score like 17-ish points. And I just think he doesn't have confidence. Like that one game where they were trying to get him to check in, he's just like, I'm not going to play.
I think he did that out of spite, too. Like, I think he thinks of himself as, like, a starter. And right now, he still hasn't, like, shook that label of up-and-coming player who, like, when he was on Utah, he was kind of in a logjam at the 2. They really just had too many players that could play his position. And he didn't demand those minutes. You know, he didn't really earn them there. So I really thought this opportunity with the Cavs was just going to he's just going to light it up.
Like, but 17 points per game in Utah.
That's what I wanted. That's what I was hoping for.
That's what the Cavs wanted.
But I don't know. He's just not reaching his potential. And I don't know if he's ever going to shake that. He's almost got that Anthony Randolph old
Minnesota
mantra of just being like, oh, just give him time. It's the coach. It's the – I don't know. At some point, I just think he's a really streaky player.
But if you think of the people ahead of him and how they performed throughout this entire season – why couldn't he have jumped J.R. Smith into the starting lineup? Why couldn't he have, I don't fully understand. And again, I don't have a strong opinion as to whether or not it was good or bad coaching to kind of phase him out for as long as they did, especially during the playoffs. That's why I'm asking you guys. But who was playing in front of him? Like, was it really a better choice?
I don't know if it was a better choice, but it might have been I feel like it was just LeBron's decision.
Being like,
it's his boys,
guys.
right?
Yeah.
So, like, J.R. Smith is his boy for better or for worse. He's one of his guys. Kyle Korver became one of his guys.
Who now he's just, like, fading away in the series.
He's fading. Well, yeah, they can't play him because he couldn't play D. And Jordan Clarkson, I guess.
He also hasn't scored for shit, though.
No, he hasn't done really anything. And then Jordan Clarkson became one of his guys. And I think that really pushed Rodney Hood out because he was probably, like, not totally on board with everything that was going on. Mm-hmm. And for whatever reason, I put on Ty Lue that he gave Jordan Clarkson so much of an opportunity because for every opportunity he's given him so far, he's just failed. Like,
I would love to see the analytics and statistics behind is Clarkson the worst performer in this year's playoffs on any team? Because my money would be on yes.
I can't think of another player that failed so hard.
Right. Ineffective doesn't cut it. Like, that's an understatement.
I'm trying to even think about, like, round 1, and nothing comes close to how poorly he's been playing. Because he was probably the worst player in round 1 as well. So I honestly don't even know.
I like Clarkson because he was on my team. I was like, all right. He's shown flashes that he can be good, but he also just takes the dumbest shots, like 90% of the time.
He's also not that young. Like, no. I feel like the narrative that he's still young, he's going to figure it out, I feel like that ship has sailed.
Yeah.
He's 25.
It's kind of weird because
he's older than you guys.
he's like a combo guard, right? But I feel like combo guards work best when they have a real playmaker with them, or like a traditional point guard.
Right.
So that's when the combo guard can expose somebody. But the
not
Cavs
even
are using him as the point guard and the shot creator and the distributor, and it's like that's really not his role. Being a combo guard, you can get like 3 to 4 assists a game, but you're not like doing heavy pick and rolls all game. You're just, if you're coming off ball, you just catch it and then pass it off to whatever the weak side. You just keep doing that endlessly. But they're asking too much of a guy that's not skilled enough to play make for the rest of the team.
It's true. They pretty much just have LeBron and then George Hill to play make. And
George Hill, I think, has been doing fine this series.
You know what's interesting is, because I agree with that, and I feel like there's a lot of chatter about him underperforming, which I don't. If you look at what his potential is, like what was the best you could have expected from George Hill in this year at this point in his career, I'm not saying he's like 100% reaching it, but it's like 90%. I don't think he's having a bad series.
Solid D. I would say like maybe like 10 points and 5 assists. That's really all you can ask.
Yeah.
I mean, he's never ever going to live up to whatever that pay grade was, but like $20 million a year, he's never going to
so bad
really deserve that. But I think if you had this roster and you just marginally increased the bench and gave him like a solid 2, like I really think if you just inserted like a CJ McCollum into this team, I think it would change everything.
Oh yeah,
man, I love that call. Actually,
I really think
McCollum
so.
would really excel.
I think it'd be perfect. But I don't know if it's too late for the Cavs to ever change their roster for the future and like save LeBron from leaving.
Right.
That's what I'm teetering on, because if he gets 4-0'd, I don't know if he's going to stay.
And they're going to want.
If it was 5-1, I think the GM and
5-1.
No,
5 wins.
It's like wow,
That's how good this Warriors team is.
Yeah, they are that good. But 4-1. If it ended 4-1, I really think that the GM and the owner could have like a real day, sit down, talk with LeBron, and actually like lay out the roster and say, okay, every year is all for you, and we're going to change this. We're going to trade everyone, and we're going to get this super team, whatever it takes. But now, if he gets 4-0'd, I don't think he gets that. I don't think the ownership gets that phone call. They don't get that meeting. I think
he doesn't give it to him.
He doesn't care. Yeah, I think that's over.
Yeah, it feels like it still all comes back to game 1, and with the way that played out, and his displeasure with Ty Lue at the end of the game in the timeout situation, and his frustration with J.R. Smith, and his frustration that I just put up maybe the greatest, if not top 3 greatest finals performances of all time. And I couldn't carry these clowns to a win.
And they like with the ball with 5 seconds left
Yeah.
under the basket.
Oh my god!
I think
Like I
think that's really detrimental to him potentially re-signing. No one knows what he's going to do. I'm not pretending like I do.
Yeah.
But that didn't help.
Not at all. I think going back to that trade deadline, I think the 3 of us proposed trades that still would be better, and I think other teams would have done. Like I really think whatever that trade was to get George Hill, I think it was like Shump and like a future first or whatever.
Yeah, no, it was. I think it was just like a second.
It was Shump in a second to get
the
Hill.
The only pick they traded was the one to the Lakers.
Yep. Okay, so you're right.
First round pick.
A first
For 2 players that have looked awful.
So
go ahead, sorry.
basically, the Kings just saved like $14 million or whatever by trading Shump for George Hill straight up because they had the cap. Why couldn't that trade happen for like Nick Batum? Someone in which like the Hornets are just desperately trying to get this like. He's like a decent player. He's a really decent role player, but he's getting paid like a max player. You can't do that. That was just a poor GM decision. Why can't you do that trade instead of getting a 34-year-old George Hill?
Who's the Cavs' current GM?
Kobe. Yeah, I was going to say David Griffin. But
no, it's not Griffin. That's kind of why I was asking.
Yeah,
I mean,
that was the first thing.
Don't you think David Griffin could have done a better job?
I think so. I want to believe so. I just feel like but then I can't remember what podcast he was on, but David Griffin was on it, and he was talking about the job that Kobe's done. And he was like, I think he's doing a good job. I'm not like there with him, but I couldn't see myself doing something greatly different in a scenario. he's just trying as hard as he can to keep LeBron, but he's just trying wrong. Like,
well, he kind of took some flyers, right? Like,
Yeah.
you just threw it into the wind, and
You get it, like,
kind of saw where it landed.
right.
he wanted to
That's
get
not
some,
an
like,
expression. I think you guys get what I'm
he wanted to get some youth. I think, like, if you look back and you're like, okay, he gets a young Rodney Hood who could be a 17-point-a-game scorer. Like, okay. They just need a playmaker, and I just think, like, they're like, okay, George Hill's their guy, I guess. Like,
I think the Rodney Hood trade was a good idea at the time. I think that was a really good gamble. I
I do too.
I still think
I can't hit on that
the
trade.
Lakers trade was good, too. I know, like, Clarkson and Nance haven't really worked out, but
I think Lance still. Larry Nance. He tries so hard though. Like, he's
that, like,
he's got
energy
the-
guy they needed.
I think they really missed out on the George Hill, just because he is playing solid, but like they invested way too much for that. Like the ownership is looking at George Hill and watching him drop like 8 points a game and say, well, that's $20 million.
I mean, the reality, though, not to step back,
But it's actually
9
like
months
60
or whatever
million.
it is. Like, the reality is that all of this was set into motion by the original terrible decision to trade Kyrie and to get Isaiah with his bad hip and health issues, and Jay Crowder, who's a real man and didn't want to fucking play on Cleveland.
Right?
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I feel like most of those problems still stem from that original decision, and then it was just trying to keep flipping, and it just never worked.
What would you give the Cavs if that original Kyrie trade went down, where it was you trade Kyrie to Phoenix, and then the 4th pick goes to the Pacers, and
you get
then Paul George and Eric Bledsoe are on Cleveland. So it's Eric Bledsoe, Paul George, LeBron, and Kevin Love. Do you think? I don't know how many games they take off. I think it'd be much closer. Like, I don't think the mistakes from game 1 would have happened
No.
if Paul George and Eric Bledsoe are out there instead of.
I think at that
Smith.
point it's a toss-up. Honestly, it's a toss-up in the finals. You might see the Warriors win, but the Cavs have a complete legitimate chance.
I think it would definitely guarantee like 6 games.
Yeah.
Like, I would love that.
So, all right, we've kind of talked about Cavs role players. Let's focus in on the alleged 2 stars of the Cleveland Cavaliers. So, you guys want to talk about Kevin Love first or LeBron?
Let's call it Kevin Love. I
Okay.
want to talk some Kevin Love.
Okay.
I think he's playing.
I want to talk about it. Do
I
I?
think he's doing all right. I still think he's kind of underperforming, but
Yeah.
I think it's hard when now there's only 2 guys. You know, there's only LeBron and Kevin Love, so they're constantly double teaming him. He's not getting every single open 3. It's even hard for him to be in the post because now they're starting Cheval. So McGee and Draymond are in the paint when he wants to post up.
That's still such a weird thing that McGee is like on a championship contending team.
He was always like a super high potential guy because of how athletic he was. He was just
Right.
never smart, and he
He's
still isn't.
very dumb.
He's very dumb. But if you're on like one of the greatest teams of all time, they make you look really smart.
Future
Yeah.
Hall of Famer right there.
Die. I would die inside. But yeah, that's how I see Kevin Love. I think he's underperforming, but I think it's hard to live up to the second best player with LeBron on a team. Like, it's hard to have
Right.
that standard.
Even like Kyrie couldn't do it because Kyrie wanted to be the alpha. It's like, well, Kyrie, you're not LeBron James.
Right. I think it's just hard to live that role.
I think, and also like we talked about before, I don't know if it's like his body or just like he just doesn't look the same in the playoffs. Like, he looks just so much more fatigued. And I think it was like game 1 or 2 with the Raptors where they were feeding him and he was getting going. And that was like the best game I think Kevin Love played in the entire playoffs. They just had that one where he had like 18 in the first half, I think. Like, I want them to do it, but like you said, they have JaVale McGee down low, and then they have Draymond Green, who's...
Then they'll throw like David West in, and then
they play David
have
West
Jordan
like 10
Bell and
minutes or
Kevin
something.
Looney, and they'll just throw whatever.
They just have
big
so
men.
many big men now.
It's weird because Kevin Looney can switch too. So now he's like, when they're doing like LeBron, Kevin Love pick and rolls, Kevin Looney's switching off onto him.
I just find that even in the games during these playoffs that Kevin Love, puts up a nice stat line, I just find there's so many times where I'm screaming at him through the TV, where it's just he doesn't box out for a rebound, just randomly. I was like, what are you doing, man? And I don't know. It's just
Like a 20 and 13 game is not that bad. He shot like
That's a good game.
45% from the field.
but it's one of those if you watch, which I know obviously we all did. Like, I didn't think he played a great game. He played an acceptable game, but only acceptable from like a different context. From a context not looking at it as this dude's an all-star.
Yeah.
If this guy's an all-star this year, like a current fucking all-star, that wasn't a great game.
No.
No.
And again, it has nothing to do with the stat line. But if you just watched it, underperformed.
He's not doing anything that's like game changing.
Yeah, he's not
basically
going over
just
the top.
That's maybe a
Filling
really
out-
good way to put it.
He's like filling out the Cavs holes. It makes sense. Like all those little like stats that the role players can't absorb.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Love's just going to get that extra board, or he's going to get that extra bucket just because he was there. He's not doing anything spectacular that's going to put LeBron over the top. And that's
All right.
what they need.
LeBron.
Yo, that off the backboard.
Yes.
Off the backboard dunk.
So I watched the first half with my wife and then drove to my dad's house to watch the second half. So we're watching the game and she's like looking at a cookbook, doing her thing. And I'm like, holy shit. And she's like, what? Someone hit a 3-pointer? No. Paused, rewound. I was like, baby, watch this. And even she was just like, that was mind-blowing. That was so sick
I
and
think I watched
completely
it
intentional.
like 40 times today. Just like, how did he know he's just like, make that move, make that like perfect step, and then be like, okay, I'm just gonna throw it to myself. Like, that was.
What was that? The second or third play? Like it felt so early
It
into the game
was
too.
4 minutes into the first quarter, I think, 3 or 4 minutes.
But yeah,
I think it was
just,
like the
just the
9-minute mark.
improvisational nature
Yeah.
of that play, astounding.
That looks like something he should have done like in year 4 or something.
Right, when he's young.
He's young. He's not that he's not athletic, because he's a freak of nature and he's dropping 51 points in a game.
Right, I know everything you want to say normally about a 33-year-old player who's played 15 seasons. You kind of can't say.
You can't
Right.
say it about LeBron because he's just.
The only thing he's missed out on is the dunk contest. He's never getting those legs back. But outside of that,
God, that
he can
would've
still
been
do
so
anything.
That really would have been cool, but I don't really know. I feel like he doesn't want that. It's kind of like
He never wanted it.
he never wanted to do it. But it would have been cool. But the dunk contest kind of, we always like hype it up, but it kind of sucks.
It was
The only year that it hasn't sucked was when it was Zach LaVine and Aaron Gordon.
going at
And
it.
they went overtime and overtime and overtime. And Aaron
But honestly,
Gordon
those
got
guys
robbed.
have like no star cachet.
No, yeah.
So like, unless you're a diehard fan, you're like,
It's
who
not, it's not like the
cares?
old days when like
Right.
Jordan was doing it and Dominique, and then even when like Kobe did it. It's one of those things you do in the beginning of your career.
Yeah.
get some recognition.
Yeah, just be a cool dunker. Now we get like, what was that one year? Some guy, he was like the 3rd string power forward on the Utah Jazz. And it's like, we could only get him.
Right. You
That's
can,
the best we had. Yeah.
This is what we're doing.
they always
I don't even think I watched it this year.
I feel like they only need like guards or like wing players. Like if you throw like a center in there, it's really boring watching a center dunk.
I mean, Dwight Howard was good with props.
Yeah, he had a cape on,
Yeah.
and then Nate Robinson jumped him. Like, I don't know.
That was neat. All right, so LeBron. Guys, I want to get your grade for these 3 games in the finals this year. Give me like your cumulative grade for LeBron at this point through Game 3, 2018 finals.
I mean, like
What are we doing? Like,
And we're grading him against
5 out of
himself.
7.
Is that really where you're going to go? Sure, we can do it out of 7. Yeah, Nick, you know what? We're going to grade this out of 7.
5 out of 7 is a perfect score for those listening. Like, yeah, he just there's not much more he can do. Like, he gave it all in the game 1 with 51, 8, and 8.
So you're saying 7 out of 7?
Nah, you can't go that high.
Okay.
It's too good.
So you're sticking with 5 out of 7.
5 out of 7
Okay.
in a good way.
Like a strong 5 out of 7.
Strong 5 out of
Leaning
7.
towards closer to a 6 out of 7.
Yeah,
But still a 5. Okay. I'm going to go out of 7. You know what? To
This
tell you,
is so
to tell you the
nice.
truth, I'm going to go 5 out of 7 as well. I really am. Game 1,
that's a perfect score.
game out of 1 was 7 out of 7. Like, that was one of the greatest games I've ever seen played. Game 2, maybe 6 out of 7. This last game, I think he was
so
tired,
gassed.
which I hate giving him that out. I really, really do.
But when he's literally playing 40-plus minutes every single game for this entire playoffs, he played all 82 games this year. How can he not be tired?
Michael Jordan flu game.
Food poisoning.
Maybe by the end of the game he gave up, but I really felt like he was murdering people throughout. He didn't shoot as much.
He missed so many layups. He missed like 4 or 5 right next to the basket layups.
I know. It's just hard. It's just really like that. I think that was his first sub 500 game of the season, of the finals, right? I'm pretty sure it was.
Yeah.
What, in terms of shooting percentage?
Yeah.
He didn't shoot that well from 3 at all.
So he's averaging 38 points, 11 assists, 9 rebounds, 2 steals, and a block.
And again, we're only grading this against himself. If we're grading it against the league, 7 out of 7.
I'm going to give him a perfect score.
Wow.
Because I don't think LeBron he's never done this in a finals.
No,
He's never been this dominant. And there were
I
points
guess we
in
just
the
see last night's game differently. Because I really did not find his performance impressive last night.
I wish he shot more in the second. He really doesn't shoot at all in the second quarter.
No, he's such a first half, and then he's like, okay, someone else carry me. I'm going to rest for the entire third quarter.
There was a point, I can't remember when, I really can't, but it was early in the fourth where it turned into like a 12-point lead for Golden State, and he looked around, and someone like just bricked an open shot, and he was just like, I don't know anymore. Like,
I'm so glad you brought that up. Finish your
knock
point,
him for it. You know, I'm not going to knock him for just giving up at some like. I don't even know if it was giving up because I guess he still went on to do more incredible things. But he was just like, it was just like I think that was the moment where okay, the next game's it.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, thank you. many thank yous. So I think it was this morning in the shower. I came to like a realization, and it was this. So I think maybe the biggest difference, other than just like stylistically, but like the biggest difference between the makeup of who LeBron James is and the makeup of who Michael Jordan is that LeBron is passive aggressive and Michael Jordan was just fucking aggressive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So LeBron is that dude that's gonna stare daggers at you for a second when you do something stupid, or he's just gonna sit quietly and just like stonewall everyone. Michael Jordan's the dude that's gonna smack you up in the back of the head and be like, "Yo, get your head in the game. Look at me." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you can say it's generational. You can say whatever you want. That's why LeBron can't be Mike, and that's why he couldn't carry them to a win in this series. Because in order for him to carry these clowns, and they are clowns, to a win in this series, he had to take that stance. He had to be the guy going into overtime, hyping them up. Get your head in the game. Let's go. We've got this. Not the like, I'm pissed at the world. And trust me, I'd be like LeBron James. This isn't even a criticism. I'd be like, screw you guys. You just ruined my chance at greatness. Right. I'm sad, and I'm just going to play sad. But that, to me, as I was really thinking about it, you know, while I was using Head and Shoulders, I'm just kidding, I don't use Head and Shoulders. I'm flake-free. Flake-free. But yeah, that's the realization I came to, and I think that is maybe the most profound difference between the two of them.
So if you swap prime Michael Jordan onto the Cavs, how far do they go? Is it any different?
Probably not. Probably not, to be honest. Maybe.
Does Michael Jordan strangle J.R. Smith at the end of that game? Like, actually,
J.R. would have been dead on the court. Like, when he was, like, this far away and LeBron's like, I'm wide open, Jordan would have been there.
See, some of those stories, like, I don't know, like, in game 2 when they were down by 20 at that one point, like, I feel like MJ would have just, like, gone to the bench, pulled out the Hennessy out of J.R. Smith's bag, just started chugging it and just ripping a cigar while sitting back and being like, I'm still better than all of you, but this isn't even like a game anymore. Like, it's so lopsided that it still doesn't seem fair that Durant joined that team. And I can't go against the fact that this can't happen again. It's really ruining basketball because what LeBron did is great, and he went through a lot of fun teams. Like, the parity in the East for that playoffs to happen was a lot of fun. That was actually the best part, was LeBron's entire playoff run, because he played like a well-established Pacers team.
I completely agree.
He like mind fucked up the Raptors really hard, and then he went through a really good Celtics team, and that was a really fun series. And then all of a sudden you get this. They kind of just cheated the Warriors to get Durant. Like, they underpaid Curry for years. And then Curry became a 2-time MVP while making only $12 million a year. Clay got a little overpaid. Draymond was underpaid. And then all they did was get players on vet minimums that are just ring hunting. Like, it just seems like there's some issue with trying to ruin. Because this has never happened before. And even the other time when it did with Miami, they all took pay cuts.
Right.
The only thing I would say is that if Chris Paul stayed healthy, the Warriors wouldn't be here. Probably.
I don't think they win Game 7
if you had a healthy Chris Paul.
If there's a healthy Chris Paul,
that will always be
Game 6 or 7. I mean, they had.
I think the Warriors would have won in Oracle. But
I think so too. But I'm just saying that they would have had 2 chances with Chris Paul. In all likelihood, maybe it's only 55% chance, but
then that would have been a sick finals. I think Rockets. Cavs would have been sweet.
Oh, yeah, because the Cavs could have done much better against the Rockets.
And the Rockets' defense isn't that great, and then it would have just been gunning. And then everyone would have been jacking
and then the Rockets are going to have games where they make, like, 10 threes, and, like, the Cavs can keep up and scoring. Like,
what did they go in the last game? 7 for 44?
Yeah, something awful. Like, I think it was both Game 7s, it was, like, a combined, like, 13 for, like, 100 or something.
Yeah,
like 13 for 80 for threes.
Yeah.
Between the Celtics and the Rockets.
So we've been doing like the ESPN cliche, like let's just talk about the Cavs. Let's focus in on the Warriors. You guys want to? You kind of brought up Durant. Let's talk about Durant's game.
Durant was so good.
He didn't miss. Like, every time watching him, like, everybody else on the Warriors was pretty trash. Like, Curry couldn't play. He got injured, went to the locker room. Clay was really bad. He looked like he got banged up. And then Draymond just can't score. And I just hate Draymond. He got so many fouls, and I can't believe he hasn't gotten another. Yeah, why didn't he get a tech? Like, he didn't get a single tech last game. I really thought he.
No, he got one.
Did he get a tech?
Yeah. They got double techs. Him and
it was in the beginning
Tristan
of the game,
Thompson.
Right?
So he only needs one more tech.
No, he's only at 5, I believe. I think
how many do you need
2.
for the playoffs?
7.
Oh, so
that's a lot of leeway, isn't it?
That's a lot.
7 techs over the course of a playoff, like
yeah.
If you get 7 techs. You're out there, man. Like, I don't even know.
Watching Draymond, like, freak out all the time is just gotten to the point of, like, nauseum. I'm like, dude, like, nothing's even happening, and you're freaking out on the refs. And you wonder why they just keep doing this to you.
Why wouldn't they hit you?
Just shut up. Just stop.
I think it's going to turn on him one day.
Ooh, yeah. Still I think it's sore topic.
I really think it's going to turn on him soon. And I think it's as soon as his, like, career dips. I don't know why.
It's kind of dipped, though.
It's dipping now. I think next season, I think it's really going to dip. Because he hasn't been able to shoot a 3 in 2 years. And now, next season's just going to get worse. Because he's going to play, he's logged even more minutes.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see what they do with this roster next season. Because I feel like this playoffs, especially Western Conference Finals and the Finals, you're seeing the Golden State Warriors put people on the court that are really below the caliber that you expect from the Golden State Warriors. You know what I mean? You're not getting, like, Harrison Barnes off the bench.
No.
You're not getting, like, all these people that used to be, like, solid contributing role players. You're getting Looney. And, you know, it's not really to knock these guys, but they shouldn't be playing in finals games.
Are you telling me Swaggy P shouldn't be on this team?
Yeah, think about the list.
He can be on the team, but he can't come off the bench. He needs to stay on the bench and maybe even be in street clothes.
So they
I think street clothes is
Patrick McCaw, Nick Young, Quinn Cook, Javale McGee, I still think, shouldn't be there. David West might be on his last limb.
He's got to be.
I think David's going to probably retire after
and even
this year.
Iggy.
Well, he's going to get the chip, so.
Yeah, he's going to get the chip.
Now he can fade into the distance.
Even Iggy, I think, is going to be like a negative by next season.
Dude, he's old.
He's so old, and he's going to get paid $16 million next year
watched
and
Iggy
the year after that.
As a young kid, and I am not a young man.
He was supposed to be the savior of the Sixers.
That didn't work out.
No.
When I was watching with my dad, he was like, "Oh, I used to love Iguodala on the Sixers. He was probably my favorite player for a while there. I was like, yeah, it was great. We would pass him the ball in like a last second shot situation, and I would just start walking out of the stadium because you knew it was going to be a miss. Which isn't even his fault. Why ever put him in that position?
I don't know.
Let's just say the post Allen Iverson era, pre this year, was just dark times. Dark times.
Really dark. Really.
You want to keep talking about the Sixers? No. All right. Back to the finals, but we will come back to the Sixers. Colangelo, you and your weird collars.
I don't know where. Like, I'm just so distracted by Colangelo and his weird collars.
That's fair. Hey, we can talk about it now.
How are they going to revamp this bench though? Like, who are they going to? Like, they have to revamp it. Like, all they're going to have is the mid-level.
Yeah, I tried playing around with their cap, and I guess so. Durant qualifies for early bird rights. He doesn't have their bird rights, so once you're on a team for 2 years, you get early bird rights. You have to be there for 3 or more to get the bird to get signed over the cap. So they can just straight up sign Durant after the season, and their cap will be like $150 million. So they're already $28 million over the luxury tax. And so their luxury tax fine is going to be almost $103 million. And so I'm thinking there's no way ownership is going to say, let's run it back with Iggy making 16 a year, with Livingston making 8 a year.
I don't know if you can like trade Iggy $16 million though.
I think you can, because I think you do the same thing in the way how they got Iggy at 16. You trade Iggy away to a team like at the time they traded to the Jazz. So say you trade Iggy to like the Hawks, and you offer them the first this year or the first next year, and then the first in 2021. That's how they got Beadrins and Richard Jefferson and all them off those
contracts were so bad.
So you just do those. You just do one of those sells, you know. And I mean, the best case scenario for like the Hawks, if he absorbs that contract, is Iggy's like, no, I want to play for a championship team, and they just, all right, we'll agree to a buyout, and he'll only make like $8 million of his 36 owned, and then he'll go to a championship team. And then so they only paid $8 million for 2 first-round draft picks. So they've got to do that with Iggy and Livingston.
Lucas is like our resident GM.
Yeah, right.
I played way too much with salary caps.
Yeah, I've never been super into that side of things, so I'm happy we have Lucas.
I freaking love it. But they need to do something other than, if they get rid of Livingston, they save $30 million. If they get rid of Iggy, they save something like 45 or whatever. It's just absurd how much money through taxes those two players.
That's what I wonder, like, because we've talked about ways of stopping another Golden State Warriors. It'd have to just be like, I think Bill Simmons said it. It'd have to be like a hard cap.
So I don't know how a hard cap would work, because that's more like football, and I'm not really
It's like the NHL does it.
And they have so much parity in the NHL. But yeah, maybe that would be fun for like an NBA purist, but then it's also the fun of having, I think there needs to be like parity within super teams, or like the top 3 teams in each conference need to have parity, and there can't be like a Golden State. But I don't know if I like the hard cap idea. I really don't know. I'm not sold on it, but I don't really know how it would translate. I still like our idea of giving specific minimum contracts to players that achieve different accolades.
Yeah, I absolutely like that idea.
I think it's really good, and I think it would solve a lot of problems. It would make a lot of people mad, because you'd have those years where like Jeremy Lin made an all-star team, and then that would be like an accolade. Like, oh my God, Jeremy Lin's making $10 million a year at the minimum, and it's like, well, Jeremy Lin doesn't get a job this year because nobody wants to pay Jeremy Lin $10 million a year.
Yeah, there'd definitely be some like.
I think that would be the
loopholes
issue.
We'd have to get around.
Like David West has accolades. He wouldn't be able to make that minute this year, but then you'd have to have like some sort of adjustment accounting for like age and injuries and whatnot. But I'm not a lawyer, and I can't do all this.
And then you'd get like teams that like wouldn't play someone up until the All-Star game, or they'd play them like, you're only playing 15 minutes, and then all of a sudden like the All-Stars get voted, and all of a sudden you're playing 35 minutes a night.
In any incentive system, someone's going to screw it over.
Right.
Yeah.
But I guess that's just life. But going back to like the Warriors.
I guess that's just life.
If you go back to the Warriors like salary cap issues, I don't know. Someone has to leave. Draymond or Clay is eventually going to have to leave. I don't know if it's this offseason. They'll probably run it back one more time with Durant like this. And then the next year, they're going to have to pick between Clay or Draymond, because Clay was like, I'll take a team-friendly deal. and everyone's like, oh, good for Clay. But it's like Clay really only said that so he stays on the team.
Well, and he's got that chocolate milk money.
He's got the chocolate milk money. But what is a team-friendly deal for Clay? It's not like he's not going to take $12 million a year. He's Klay Thompson. I feel like a team-friendly deal isn't asking for like 28 a year.
It's asking for like 26.
Yeah, like a player isn't going to give up, $10 million for free unless they're being told they're going to get traded to like Sacramento. So
yeah, and the only reason Durant really did it is he's got all that Silicon Valley money now. He's investing.
And he's not taking a pay cut next year. He's making max, which is going to be like 36.
Oh. I mean, for Durant, that's
for Durant, but for John Wall, I don't like it. For Durant, I do.
So what you're saying is they should trade John Wall
straight up.
To the
Well, it would restore competitive balance to the league.
I think it would. John Wall might be a detriment.
But yeah, KD, I mean, after a really rough game 1, game 2, solid.
Even like
game 3, phenomenal.
Even KD's like not great games are still like him putting up 27, 28 points.
Right. He is, I mean, he definitely still is the next behind LeBron. I just feel like the consensus is just that there's such a gap.
Did you know, or were we talking about this the other day, or did we just talk last week where it's like LeBron's got his tier and then there's like 2 tiers?
No, we talked about it on the pod.
We talked about it on the pod. I was just, because I was like watching that game, I'm like, Durant's really good, but LeBron's so much better. Like, it just, so many aspects of the game. But I think
even just intelligence, honestly. I don't mean like outside of the court. I have no idea
who's his basketball IQ.
Yeah, but basketball IQ, dude. LeBron is a genius.
It kind of sucks though about Durant that he's like a top 3 scorer of all time, but he doesn't have that like really cool assassin sort of mentality that you want from like a top 3. Like,
I don't know, dude. This past game last night,
it just feels like
he had some cold-hearted threes.
Yeah, but it's like everything that he has said in the past. He's like, I needed to go to the Warriors because I'm not a leader. I need someone to lead me. Like,
he doesn't have that like. He has the killer mentality, but he doesn't like.
He's not like
portray
he's not the guy you want it to be. Like, I'd rather have the ego of like John Wall
with the skill set of
Kevin Durant, because that would be the coolest thing ever. He's just talking smack to everybody and just can back it up. But Durant's like a pansy and has burner accounts like Colangelo. So it's like, it's just not fun watching. I can't root for Durant anymore because it's like, okay, you're really good, but you're not really proving anything better. You don't have anything to achieve anymore because you just chose to be on the best team ever.
Right, because you're essentially a cog. Maybe the best cog, but you're still a cog in the wheel that is the Warriors.
Yeah, so it's almost like for his entire career for me, there's just going to be an asterisk of like what you could have been. Like Durant could have achieved on his own, maybe like, a top 15 argument. Like he could have passed Kobe sort of thing. That would have been a fun argument. But now it's like if, 10, 15 years from now we have a who is better, Kobe or Durant, it's going to be like, well, Durant, but I'm always going to pick Kobe. Like, if I had to do this, I'm going to pick Kobe because Durant's just cheated out on his own career.
It would have been fun. It would have been really fun to compare him at the end of his career to Larry Bird. And I don't know if you guys remember this, but he compared his game to Bird. And that was kind of like an interesting thing that happened a few years back. But, yeah, we'll never get that apples-to-apples comparison, at least in terms of this portion of his career.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just a shame. It's a damn shame.
Who you guys got for Finals MVP?
Well, I don't know. It's all like recency, so I feel like Durant's now winning, but Curry had the first 2 games. I think if Curry, like the next game, if Curry just goes off,
drops like 40 points.
If he hits like 6 threes, it's Curry's. If he hits more than 4 threes, I think it's Curry's. I don't think Durant's going to drop 40 again.
So cool. What if he drops 50?
I think it'll be probably Curry. It's not going to be 50s.
60.
I mean, I tend to agree with you on this. I think Golden State is winning Game 4.
Right.
And whoever shows up is going to get it. Because it's close enough right now after the first 3 games that, I don't know. I mean, some people might say it's Durant's. Some people might say Curry. But we will use the recency bias to decide.
Yeah, I think that there was part way through that game where I was like, okay, Durant's taking this over. It was probably like 10 minutes into the first. And I was just like, nope, Curry's not going to show up this game because he was already like 0 for 8 in the first quarter. Like, it was our first half.
Yeah, Clay was 1 for 6, maybe. I don't know. Really bad stat lines.
So both of them shot like 3 for 15 on the game. It was really ugly.
From 3?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was 3 for 15.
Just gross.
Okay, can we talk about Colangelo?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yes.
On next week's podcast.
No! Okay. So, Colangelo, you are lame, homie. Here, I'm just pulling up this quote real quick.
The funny thing is like, it still doesn't make sense to me, this entire story.
What aspect?
Just why? Why do you need to
The
exist?
same reason Durant did it. Because they're emotional and they can't deal with criticism.
Well, his wife is, apparently.
I don't believe it. I really don't.
I don't really fully get why you're having a hard time believing that it at least could have been in large part his wife. It's a wife, man. She's defending.
But why
the
did
job
she
he's doing.
have like 4 burners? Why isn't that he goes home and he just like logs onto his iPad and he just has his wife's like username or whatever, like his wife's email address, and just uses that as a Twitter?
I'm not saying that's not what happened. I'm just saying that I think it's completely reasonable to believe that a wife got tired of reading a bunch of people online shit-talking her husband and the job he's doing and the collars he wears and all these other things. And,
These damn collars.
and she was just like, I'm going to stick up for him. Like,
I get that.
people do that.
I just feel like it's way more likely that he's just trying to throw her under the bus.
I think it's the only way to blame his wife is the only way that he may in the future ever get another job in the NBA. But that's the only way you could do it. But if you're in his position, you have to do, what can I do now to get a future job? And this is it, is to say, okay, one of those accounts was mine. The rest of them were my wife's.
But no one's going to trust him.
No, I
as
don't
long
even
as he's
trust him
married
now.
to his wife.
So, little backstory. He stepped down. He wasn't fired, technically. He stepped down today. Probably the most relevant quote that came out of the investigation was, "We believe that Mr. Colangelo was careless and in some instances reckless in failing to properly safeguard sensitive, non-public, club-related information and communications with individuals outside the 76ers organization." Basically, bro, you're talking to your wife about way too much shit.
Pillow talk. Isn't that the whole thing?
Pillow talk?
I don't even know if it was.
That's out there.
But the problem is a ton of these tweets are even more than pillow talk. Like, it almost would seem like she was in the medical room with him at the time. Or was she on that trip to the Olympics with him sitting next to D-Wade the whole time? Like, there's so many specific instances where only Jerry would know, or Bryan would know about. And, like, you're going to share literally everything. And then you've got to know your wife is visibly upset about this. Like, the point that after all of this time, he now finds out, like, just think about him going home and be like, "Oh my God, you hear the stories about me?" And she's like, "I don't know, Jerry. I don't know, Bryan. I don't know what's going on here." Like, you really think that's how it went down? It's like, oh my God, burn the iPad, burn everything. Like, the funniest thing was she had to turn in the phone.
And she erased it.
And she factory reset the phone, handing it in.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is there's no way that he didn't know about this and didn't support some of those. I bet it could have been mutual. It could have been like, "Oh my God, I'm pissed. I'm going to tweet about this." And then he goes, "You should say this because you spelled this guy's name wrong." Or, this person was actually in charge.
And maybe that's the middle ground for how we see it. Is that, I think that there's a high likelihood he was fully aware and marginally involved. I just also think that some of it could have definitely been her just acting autonomously.
I think it could have been.
But it doesn't matter, because that's the end of the day. He's the president of basketball operations, and he just made the 76ers look fucking stupid. So the details are completely irrelevant. You broke my heart, and I wish bad things, for you and your collar.
Who looks more stupid out of the three? Bryan? I was going to say Jerry again, but not this time. I hate Jerry. So Bryan, the Sixers, or Adam Silver looks worse. Because Adam Silver made this happen.
I still say Bryan.
I think he's always just been a little dirtbag.
Yeah.
I think the drop from the look of Adam Silver is more significant than Bryan, because we all knew that Bryan got his job because of his daddy, and he did.
Just the way you said daddy.
I know. I don't know why the Y had to be on the end.
Daddy.
Because he's like a kid.
All right, fair enough.
kid.
Touche.
But
He's like a kid, whatever.
whatever. But yeah, I think Adam Silver took a really big hit because he really forced Hinkie out, and then he introduced the Colangelos to Philadelphia, and that was a terrible mistake.
Here's the thing, though. As the resident Sixers fan, I respect what Hinkie did, but I hate the process. I shouldn't say we all, everyone within my inner circle that's a Sixers fan, if we could go back in time, no, we don't want the process. The process was awful. It was awful.
It was literally years.
And I
just 10
completely,
wins.
and really, what did we get out of it? Like, this is like what I've brought up to you guys in the past. Like, look at how Danny Ainge remade a team. Look at how the process remade a team. Whose team do you want today?
Danny Ainge got so
This is the thing.
lucky.
The difference is not every team could do what Danny Ainge did.
Of course.
Every team could have done what the Sixers did. Any team in 2012 could have just tanked and
Right.
tried the strategy. You're never going to find, a person to trade rate, who's a Russian billionaire who doesn't really care about basketball.
Oh, he cared.
He cared enough after 1 year and then sold everybody off.
Exactly.
he cared for a very
You
short
realize
amount
he
of
spent
time.
like $300 million in 1 year, and he's like, this is not fun.
Yeah, I didn't realize the salary cap that year was only like $60 million.
And they're like
And their salary was like
100 and
30 or something.
Wow.
Yeah.
they were like 80 million over the cap.
Yeah,
And that doesn't include I don't think that includes the tax either. I think
No,
that was
they-
just
they-
their salaries.
They paid over $200 million that year for that team to get like the third or fourth seed. I don't even think they were that high.
They were so old. They
really were. It
They just
didn't
didn't
make
have
any-
anyone to play like the regular season and care.
Right. Okay, so based on what we know today, who do you guys think is the most likely, if anyone, so you could say no one, but is the most likely free agent signing or trade, like big name trade, blockbuster thing, did the Sixers acquire or get this offseason? Just based on what we know today.
I had a fun one because I was trying to figure out with the trade machine fun things to happen during the draft because I have a whole list now.
Some
of
people
things to
watch
bring up.
porn. Lucas watches the trade machine.
Because Lucas's porn.
Yeah. yeah.
He was
But I thought-
incognito window.
What's the biggest weakness
What's an
for
incognito
Philly?
window?
They don't have a guy that can create his own shot.
Absolutely accurate.
Simmons can't. I think PG is destined for LA. I think that's done. So there's nobody elite on the market that you can get that's going to be able to do it. I don't think you're going to get LeBron.
If you say Melo, I'm putting my head through a window.
No, you're going to put your head through the window for this one.
Oh, no.
So there's one player on a bad contract, but he's very young, and he can score buckets when he's motivated.
Yeah.
His name is Andrew Wiggins. You put a 20-point per game score.
And that's the end of the sentence.
You put a 20-point per game score on the Sixers and just motivate him to create his own shot. They do the whole offense normally throughout the season. And in the fourth quarter, what did they most struggle at? Being able to create. They just can't create their own shot. Wiggins can. He's hit multiple game winners. He's averaged over 20 points per game. He can do it. And he's so young that he fits in the entire timeline of that team. By the time they all reach like the end of their contracts, they're going to all be around like 27.
If that's the signing that we have this summer, and that's what's supposed to
And it's
full circle, come all the way back from the process, and we're rolling into next season with our three best players, being Joel Embiid, who still doesn't really know how to play basketball, Ben Simmons, who can't shoot a basketball, and Andrew Wiggins. I mean, such an underperformer.
The problem is there isn't like a market, and the Sixers' only leverage is their cap space.
You've upset me.
They don't have any. They have no other leverage except cap
I just
space.
really want you to get Wiggins now.
They don't. There is no person on the market that can be that last minute guy or the guy that can create his own shot.
So you don't think Bron is realistic?
No, I don't think so. I think it's.
See,
more
I
realistic
really
that he-
disagree. I think he's realistic. I don't expect it, but I think I think it's as realistic as any other situation.
I feel like it'd be more realistic if he went to Houston. I really think he wants to stay in the East, but if he's going to leave, he's going to leave for his buddies. His buddies are in Houston, or he could create new buddies in LA. But those are the only places that make sense. Like he could get Paul George this offseason in LA.
But you know what? He's still going to have to put that entire team and organization on his back to maybe reach the conference semifinals.
Then he goes to Houston and he just cruises to a finals.
Okay, so I mean, I see that. I see Houston, Cleveland, and Philly as the most realistic suitors. I don't see LA as a realistic suitor.
How do you see LeBron and Ben Simmons working together? Ben Simmons can't do anything off ball. Like, he can't shoot. Just slash.
It's not the ideal marriage. I mean, that's for sure. But sometimes, you know.
If I'd ever say no to LeBron, I just would never say no to him. I just think you might stunt Simmons.
Imperfect marriages can work. My parents were married for 13 years before they got divorced. I mean, it worked for a while. And trust me, that shit was imperfect.
I just wonder, like, we have to also remember this was Ben Simmons' first year. Like, he's going to have an entire offseason now to actually maybe develop something.
To realize he's shooting with the wrong hand.
Well, yes.
That he hasn't already developed after years and years and years of playing basketball.
Yeah. But
how do you throw a baseball and then pick up a basketball and think, no, I'm going to do it the other way? He throws a football. He throws a baseball with his right hand.
I wish our listeners could have seen what you just did.
That's how he shoots.
Because it told the perfect story.
It's like
who does that? Who has their both their elbows like... Yeah, but even Sean actually shot with his right hand, though.
It was Joe.
No, that was
Joakim Noah.
Joakim Noah, and he probably doesn't
Joakim Noah and Leandro Barbosa both had that super weird two-handed release.
It's all these weird foreign players. I don't understand it.
We love foreign people.
I do. They're just some of their shots are weird. Stop it.
You stop it.
You stop it. We're getting to a weird hour.
Yeah, we're done. We're done. Nick, tell the people where to find us.
You can find us on Twitter @Sip and Swish, Facebook Sip and Swish NBA. Guys, the year's almost about to start because it's almost the off season, the best time for basketball,
where we can just project everything and anything.
Yep.
We're talking hypotheticals. We're talking Lucas's trade machines. We're talking free agents.
Lucas's dirty trade machines.
Dirty. Wiggins to Philly.
Wiggins to Philly.
Incognito windows.
Well, on that note, we're going to leave you guys. Thank you again for listening. Have a splendid day.